Janome.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Michael Smith. I'm the National Consumer Education Manager of Janome Canada, and welcome to the Janome Sewing and Learning Center. Today we're going to talk all about the Janome long-arm quilting machine options available. Janome now has 4 long-arm quilting machines to help you get your projects done quicker and easier with more fun, better than ever. So we're going to go through the line of the 4 long arms today, and then I'll be doing another video of all the accessories that are available for your long arm quilting machine. So definitely look for that. Now, speaking of videos, there are more videos about each of these long arms for longer presentations on the Janome HQ YouTube channel. I did a playlist in the summer called Quilt Canada. So you can find all of these Janome long arms under that Quilt Canada playlist on the Janome HQ YouTube channel. As well, our fabulous Kelly McKenzie from Janome America has videos on each of these machines on the Janome America YouTube channel. So you can check those out for more information. And of course, all the information, all the specs of the machines and everything are available on our janome.ca website. So definitely check those out. So let's get started with all the fun. Now, one of the fabulous machines in the Janome long-arm quilting lineup is the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. And as you can imagine, Versa means versatility. The wonderful thing about the Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa is that you have the same long-arm sewing machine head of the Quilt Maker Pro 18 stand-up long-arm machine. We've got 18 inches of throat space by 9 inches tall, but now the sewing machine head is recessed into a table. So we can do our free motion quilting just like we would on our domestic sewing machine, but now we have so much more throat space. We have the addition of this beautiful LED lighting at the top of the machine here. This little strip of LED lighting is not currently on the Quilt Maker Pro 18 stand-up long arm machine, so it's wonderful to have a little bit more light here. But the table itself is 31.5 by 36 inches, so you have a very generous room for your free motion quilting. There is an extension that's available that you can mount on either side of the table, so then you've got more room for your quilting projects to grow. The table is also adjustable in height, so again, Versa means versatility. So we can sit down at the machine, again, as we're most comfortable at our domestic sewing machine, but then we can also raise this table up to about 39 inches, so we can stand up just like we do at a long arm quilting frame. But instead of moving the machine head, we're actually going to be moving our quilt under the needle. So again, lots of versatility. We can still use a lot of our accessories like our easy ruler foot, and we could do ruler quilting. We can certainly do free motion quilting. There's a lot of fabulous accessories available for this machine, which I'll show you then in a later video. But I wanted to show you all the wonderful thing about all Janome long arm machines is we have everything we need basically to get started. The only thing you need to provide is the actual quilt, and chances are you've got some fabric and batting that you can play around with. But included with all of your Janome long arm machines, we have a little sample pack of a variety of different threads, all of our tools for maintenance and care of the machine, like your little brush to clean out the bobbin area, your little hex Allen wrench here to change your hopping foot and change your needles, extra packages of needles. Very important that they're the long arm high-speed needles, again conveniently available at your Janome dealer. All your big M-class bobbins. These are nice and big, so we can wind lots of thread on these M-class bobbins. The great thing, all Janome long arms use the same M-class bobbin and the same needles, so they're all interchangeable. Speaking of bobbins, we have this fabulous bobbin winder that comes with each of the Janome long arm quilting machines, so we can wind our own thread. I've got our Madeira Fabulous Arrow quilt thread on, which I love using. I get so little breakage or no breakage at all with the Madeira Arrow quilt thread. But really, again, any thread you can use on your long arm, you just need to practice adjusting your tensions. But there's, again, lots of videos on the Janome America YouTube channel about how to adjust your tensions. I also go over some of that on the Janome HQ videos that you can find on our YouTube channel about how to adjust your tensions and play with your long arm here. But the cool thing with the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa, on our beautiful red accented screen here, we have two modes of stitching. We have the stitch regulated mode, which means that at 18 or at 2200 stitches per minute, all of my stitches end up perfectly consistent. And we can adjust our stitch length, of course, and there's even some basting stitches built into this machine. Now we can also go into manual mode then, when we become the stitch regulator. So the motor moves at the same speed, and now we're the stitch regulator, adjusting how fast and how slow we move our projects to make whatever kind of stitches that we want. So there's lots of versatility with the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. Now I mentioned the stitch regulator, and that's one of the big pluses to this sit-down quilting machine. Most of the time there is an extra attachment for a stitch regulator, but no, with the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa, you don't need anything to attach to your project. It's built into this insert. There are these little windows on either side here of the insert that are the stitch regulator. So that is the big plus to this Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. You have that versatility of the built-in stitch regulator, or that you can go into manual mode. Now when we're in regulated mode, we also have the option of the precision mode, which means that the needle will stop cycling as soon as we stop moving the fabric. I love using that when we use rulers, for example, so we can safely adjust our rulers and we know the needle is going to stop cycling without having to always press stop. Now the cruise mode is great to use when we're doing that free motion quilting. We're doing lots of, swirls and floral design. So the cruise mode is a lot like the idling your car. The motor is running, but you're not going anywhere. So the needle is constantly going up and down, giving you that very fluid quilting motion. So again, lots of versatility with your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. Now, as mentioned, your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa comes with this fabulous bobbin winder. It has a stop-start button and a speed control. So always when you start winding your bobbins, I recommend turning down that speed control very low, just so you make sure the thread stays in the tension and it's winding correctly. Once you know that it's winding okay, then you can turn it up a little bit. But, no need to go all the way full throttle, because that's ultimately going to be stretching your thread as well. So I generally keep the speed down a little bit lower. So it's great to be able to customize it however you wish. But I wanted to show that when you're using your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa, again, where do you put your bobbin winder? So a wonderful accessory, again, available from your Janome dealer. One of these cute little Gidget tables, for example, is a great thing to have next to your long arm quilting machine. You can put your bobbin winder on it, put all of your little goodies that come with the machine. So everything that you need for your long arm quilting machine is readily available at hand. Now with our Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa, again, we can raise the table to stand up at it and move our quilt under the needle, or we can sit down just like we would at our domestic sewing machine. And of course, who doesn't love this fabulous Janome fabric on one of these arrow chairs? These are the hydraulic arrow chairs, so you can totally customize the chair to whatever height is comfortable for you. And the great thing about all of the arrow chairs, they have this secret compartment. So a great spot to store, the brochure that's available on our janome.ca site, so you can find out more information about the Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. And of course, store your instruction manual that comes with the machine, all the assembly instructions, all the tools you need, everything is included. So how about you store them all here in your fabulous arrow chair, so that way you will never lose track of them. So the next machine in the Janome arsenal of long arm quilting machines is the fabulous Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16. Now, the cool thing about the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16 is it is a slightly smaller head. So as you can imagine, 16-inch throat space by 9 inches tall. So again, bigger than your domestic sewing machine. So that's wonderful. But again, the cool thing is it is on this 5-foot hoop system. This is like a modern spin on the old-fashioned quilting frame, which would be out of wood, but now it is out of metal. And we have this very cool, sturdy clamp system that I have my quilt here clamped onto the frame. So this is very different than our traditional long arm quilting, stand-up long arm quilting system that has the rollers. So this instead has this hoop frame, but it's cantilevered over the table. So we could stand up certainly at this machine, or we really could put a stool or a chair up because the table itself is adjustable in height. So raise it up depending on how tall you are, or you could also lower it down, and you could even sit here because there is enough room for your knees underneath. Now, this 5-foot table is a great configuration for those who say, oh, I really don't have room for a long arm quilting machine. So again, we've got the option of the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. Certainly doesn't take up a lot of floor space. Or if you'd rather have a more traditional long arm, but you still don't have enough room for the bigger Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 or Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20, perhaps consider this Quilt Maker Pro 16 on the 5-foot table. It makes it very convenient to be able to get whatever size quilting project you would like to do that you can do now with your quilt clamped on this frame. So I only have part of the quilt here clamped on the frame just so you could see the machine, but normally this quilt would be all the way over on the other side of the frame. And then again, we've got these very sturdy clamps that you would clamp your quilt, all your 3 layers down together, so you don't need to pre-baste your quilt layers together, which is another big plus for the long arm quilting machines. I personally could not stand getting down on the floor, safety pinning all my layers together. So by having this, one of the Janome long arm quilting machines, you don't need to pre-baste all your layers together. You can lay down your quilt backing, your batting, and your quilt top all over the frame here, and then again clamp it down in order to do your quilting. With our Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16, we have the same telescoping thread stand as we have on all of our Janome long arm quilting machines. Again, great to use the big cones of that fabulous Madeira Aero quilt thread, or again, any thread you'd like to use. Again, we still have the big M-class bobbins that they are the same for all Janome long arm machines. They use the same bobbins, the same needles, the same bobbin case, all of which is available from your fabulous Janome dealer. So that makes it very easy. When we look at the machine head itself, that we have, these fabulous magnets that these debuted on the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18. Everyone fell in love with them, including me, because I was notorious for leaving my tools down on the quilt itself, which can be very hazardous as you're quilting along and then you forget, oh no, I'm going to run over something. So it's great to have these magnets, all your tools, your little screwdriver that you need to adjust the tension of your bobbin. It comes included with your machine, and you can put that up on your magnets, as well as the little Allen wrench here that you're going to use to switch out your hopping feet and your needle. These fabulous, Janome mini duckling scissors. These do not come with your machine, but are readily available from your Janome dealer. I love these mini duckling scissors. They're mainly for applique, but they're super sharp and they're great for trimming those little threads, and they sit up there convenient out of the way on those magnets. Great for pins, whatever tools you need to get them up off your quilt. So that's fabulous. The handlebars, these are the same as the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18. So we have the needle up and down and the speed control on one side, on the left side. We've got the other speed up control here on the right side, as well as the stop start button. The speed up and speed down button will adjust the speed of the motor in manual mode, but it will also adjust your stitch length when you're in regulated mode. The cool thing about Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16 is it has the same functions as our Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa and Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 longarm quilting machine and Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20 longarm quilting machine, in that we have regulated mode, where now we have 1800 stitches per minute. So when we're in regulated mode, no matter how fast or how slow we're moving the machine, the stitches are all consistent. We can adjust the stitch length, again, either here on our handlebar controls, or we could touch the LCD screen here. Now, I always like, when I am loading my quilt, I always like to add this little scrap piece off to the side, because this is where I do my testing, and I can adjust my stitch length as needed. So when we go into manual mode, then we can adjust the motor speed here on the LCD screen, or we can adjust the motor speed here on our handlebars. And the motor stays consistent, but it's up to us to move the machine head either faster or slower to make sure our stitches are the correct length that we would like and that they are consistent. So that's a little bit more practice, but again, while we're learning our skills, we can always go into regulated mode. That's like having the training wheels on our machine. So again, lots of versatility with all of the Janome longarm quilting machines. Oh, we've got functions like needle up and down we can program on our screen, just like we can on many of our Janome domestic sewing machines. Same with our Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa. We've got the precision mode, where again, the needle stops cycling as soon as we stop moving the machine. Great for our ruler work. Or again, we can go into the cruise mode, and that's where the machine cycles, even if you're not moving it, the needle will cycle up and down. So that's a great thing to use with your free motion quilting as you're doing all your feathers and all your curves. And when you're going to be using the optional rear handlebars and the optional laser light, they come together as a kit, but the rear handlebars and the laser light are optional accessories for your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16. And when you will use those is when you have a paper pantograph here at the back of your table. Now, again, I like using that cruise mode when we're doing the paper pantograph, and we're going to follow the design on the paper pantograph with that laser light. So that allows you to get your quilts done very quickly and easily. And the cool thing is, no one will ever know if you don't follow that line precisely, because they're never going to take this paper pantograph and put it up on your quilt. So again, the optional rear handlebars and laser light are available for the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16 when you're going to be using the paper pantographs at the back of the machine. Again, yet another versatile option you have at getting your quilt projects done quickly and easily. Now, if you're fighting for space and you're looking at getting this fabulous 5-foot hoop clamp system here, then the great thing is that there is this fabulous 5-foot drawer available as an optional accessory, which will mount either to the front of your table, as I have here, or it will mount so then it will open to the back. So again, you've got great versatility there. This 5-foot drawer is perfect for storing all of your tools, all your extra accessories that come with your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16, and then other optional accessories, things like, oh yes, the ruler base that is for your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16. We can clamp this on the machine very quickly and easily. We would use the Easy Ruler Foot, which is another optional accessory available for your machine. Look for the accessories video that I will have on the Janome HQ YouTube channel. So for more information about all the accessories you can use with your Janome long arms. But again, having the extra space attached to the bottom of your table is really great, especially when you're fighting for space. So again, there are no excuses. Everyone has space for the fabulous Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16 on the 5-foot frame. Now, the next quilting machine in Janome's line is the fabulous Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18, and this is the machine that started it all for Janome. It was 2017 that we at Janome Canada received this beautiful machine, and we had so many people at our Quilt Canada booth walk in and say, at last, Janome has a branded long arm quilting machine. So now we can have a Janome sewing machine, we can have a Janome serger, a Janome cover hem machine, we can have a Janome embroidery machine, and now we can have a dedicated Janome long arm quilting machine. So the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 comes ultimately on this beautiful 12-foot frame. This is really amazing. Again, any size of quilt, any kind of quilt project you want to do, you can definitely do it on this big 12-foot frame. But if you think, oh no, I don't have enough room for 12 feet, the ingenious engineering of this frame is that it comes in 3 4-foot sections. So you can ultimately set up at 4 feet, or 8 feet, or eventually 12 feet. So even if currently you don't have enough room for all 12 feet, but you may set it up at 4 feet or 8 feet, and then maybe down the road you get a larger space, and then you've already got that other 4 feet just waiting, so you don't have to then switch out and get a whole new machine. You can just add on that other 4 feet. You already bought it. So that makes it very versatile again. So the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 12-foot frame here is very special in that basically, again, everything that you need to do your quilting projects is already included. Things like, all the way down here, this batting bar. Now, in a lot of other quilting systems, the batting bar is an optional accessory, but here it comes included in your Quilt Maker Pro 12-foot frame. As we come up here to the back of the machine, then, this is your pickup bar. This is where your big quilt will accumulate here on this pickup roller. And then this bar down below is called the idle bar, or some people call it the dead bar, because it just literally lays here. But as you can see, it actually has a very special purpose in that it keeps your quilting surface nice and flat. So the idle bar is very essential. You can tell it is the one that does not have the leaders. The big stand-up long arm quilting machines, they use these fabulous cloth leaders saying Janome Quilt Maker Pro on it. So your pickup roller has a leader, your idle bar does not have a leader. Now going down here, this is the quilt backing bar. Now this is a very unique configuration for the long arm frames. Most of the time the bar up top here, it would be the quilt top bar. But in the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 12-foot frame here, we've got where this is the quilt backing bar, which is this blue here, and then this is our quilt top roller. So it's a very unique configuration because the quilt top bar is lower, so then I've got a totally unobstructed view of my quilt. This is great if we're going to be doing ruler quilting. Then you could use whatever size and shape of ruler or template, and you don't have to worry about a bar sitting up here getting in the way. This also adds a little bit more tension on your quilt top, so everything is nice and flat. And the cool thing is, though, when you need to load your quilt top bar, for example, the frame has this built-in cradle that you can easily, with one hand, you don't need any special tools to adjust this. This is another wonderful engineering feat of this frame. You can bring up your quilt top bar here where it's more ergonomically friendly. You can pin your quilt top to the leader here, and then you can simply click it down again with one hand. Like, how simple, how easy is that? Make it nice and tight, and away you go. We've got the bungee cords on either side of your frame here that keep your backing out nice and taut. So again, no wrinkles underneath. This is a big reason why I personally got into long arm quilting, because when I tried to quilt on my domestic machine and I tried to baste all those layers together, crawling around on the floor with all the safety pins, trying to put my quilt backing and all my layers together, I would get wrinkles in the back. So now having them stretched out on the frame. Everything stays nice and taut. And the great thing is, if you're done quilting for the day, you just walk away. You don't have to disassemble anything. So you leave your quilt on the frame until you're ready to take it off when it's done. So that's wonderful. Now, when I mentioned about this special 12-foot frame, comes in 3 4-foot sections. Each of these sections has this frame down the middle, this support leg down the middle. So again, the table is very sturdy. Everything stays nice and level, so your stitches are beautiful. We do have the optional casters that are available that I'll go over more about all the accessories available for your Janome long arms in a separate video, but casters are another great thing to add to any of your Janome long arm machines. If you do need to move them around for whatever reason, the casters make that very quick and easy. Now, just like for our 5-foot Quilt Maker Pro clamp system, hoop system frame, we've got the 5-foot drawer for that frame, but now we've got, the 4-foot drawers available for this Quilt Maker Pro 12-foot frame. So we could ultimately, as it's set up for 12 feet, we could have 3 4-foot drawers. Perfect to set all your accessories, all your extra tools, all your batting and fabric, everything. So these drawers, again, will mount either to the front of the frame or to the back. So you've got lots of versatility. This is the carriage that comes with your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18, and it has the stitch regulator here on the back, so that makes all your stitches beautiful and even. Now you will get a different carriage when you upgrade to the Pro Stitcher Premium computer software. So I wanted to point out that this is the normal carriage, the regular carriage that comes with the Quilt Maker Pro 18. Pro Stitcher software is something add-on, which we'll go into in just a moment. But also included with your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18, just like all of our Janome long arms, you get this fabulous bobbin winder. Again, it's the same bobbin winder for all of the machines. So again, you're very comfortable with it. If you've already been familiar with the Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa or Quilt Maker Pro 16, and now you're upgrading to Quilt Maker Pro 18, it's that same bobbin winder with the stop and start, and again, the speed control with that wonderful big M-class bobbin, so you can wind all your own bobbins, again, with our fabulous Madeira Arrow quilt thread. When touring the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 machine, you will see, it looks very similar to the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16. It is the same handlebars, where I've got needle up and down and the speed down button on my left-hand side. I've got the speed up and the stop-start on my right-hand side. So again, if you were starting off on Quilt Maker Pro 16, but now wanted to upgrade to a larger machine of the Quilt Maker Pro 18, you're already familiar with those handlebar controls. The LCD screen here of the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18, again, very similar to what is on the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 16. We still have the regulated mode and manual mode, just like we have on the Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa, and just as we have on the Quilt Maker Pro 16. We've got the precision and the cruise mode, just like we have on the other Janome long arm machines. We can certainly adjust the needle up and down and the stitches per inch in regulated mode, again on the LCD screen, or we can adjust it here on the handlebars. And over here on the side of the machine, we've got, again, these wonderful magnets, so we can keep all of our tools, again, like those fabulous Janome mini duckling scissors, up off the quilt, so we don't have to worry about running them over. Now, the unique thing about on the Quilt Maker Pro 18 Versa and the Quilt Maker Pro 18 long arm here is they have this digital tension control. So here on the side of the machine, when I turn the tension control for the needle tension, there is a number that appears on the LCD screen, and we can turn this knob and record actually what this number is. That will help us adjust the tensions going forward if we're using the same, again, Madeira Arrow quilt thread, and we're using, regular cotton quilting fabric or whatever fabric we're using. We can record all of these machine settings in one of our cute little tension journal accessories, which I will show in a later video. But this digital tension control really makes it easier when we're adjusting our tensions. We can use whatever thread we would like on our long arm quilting machines. We just have to get comfortable adjusting the tensions, not only the bobbin tension, but the needle tension. And having this digital tension control reading here definitely makes it quicker and easier. There are over 800 designs built into the Pro Stitcher Premium computer, and the cool thing is that we can simply, with one touch of a button, go from free motion quilting. Now we hear the gears engage, and now the machine is definitely, oh, there's a drag to it, because now it is being set up for programming the size and the shape that we want our designs to stitch out, and the computer will run entirely all by itself to get your quilting done faster and easier than ever. When we're ready to switch back to free motion quilting, again, one touch of a button and away we go. It's that simple. Since Janome is all about options, we have another fabulous frame for your Janome long arm quilting machines. This is the Pro frame, and why this is so special is this arm here that holds your quilt backing bar and your quilt top bar is adjustable. So on this Pro frame, it can condense to fit a Janome Quilt Maker Pro 18 quilting machine, or it can extend as I have here, so we can accommodate the fabulous Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20. So if you have a Quilt Maker Pro 18 and then would like to upgrade down the road to a Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20, if you have this Pro frame, you can accommodate both machines. Isn't that cool? Yet another option to get all of your quilting done faster and easier than ever. The Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20 is the top-of-the-line long-arm quilting machine. It is so fabulous. We're talking 2,500 stitches per minute. But listen to how quiet that machine really is. I thought it was going to sound like a freight train, but really, oh, I am so impressed at how easy and how smoothly this quilts out, even though it is a larger machine. We now have 20 inches of throat space by about 10 inches tall, and look at all this beautiful LED lighting. All of our Janome long arms have beautiful LED lighting all around the needle, but here in the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20, we've got all of this lighting here washed down in the arm of the machine. And all of the lighting controls can be adjusted individually on this beautiful 7-inch LCD screen. There is even, you won't be able to see it on the camera probably, but there is even a laser light that you can switch on and off, but the laser light shines down on your quilt top. So that is directly under the needle. So you'll see exactly when you're lining up your machine head at the edge of a block, for example, and you want to do some stitch in the ditch or stitch around applique, that laser light will pinpoint exactly where your needle is going to hit. So that is wonderful. That is one of the big upgrades to the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20. There are so many upgrades to this machine actually. We still have the same telescoping thread stand as all the Janome long arms, and here I have some of our fabulous multicolor Madeira Aero quilt thread. So again, lots of options available. Check with your Janome dealer. As we're going down the machine here, oh yes, we've got the magnets that again everybody loves on the Janome long arm machines, so we can keep things like again our fabulous mini duckbill scissors. Again, I have them at every machine that they can stay up off of our quilting surface. All of our pins and the, again, a little included Allen wrench that we're going to use to adjust our hopping foot and our needle, all of that can stay up on these magnets so you can quilt safely. As we go here to our beautiful LCD screen, we, again, just like all the other Janome long arms, we have the regulated mode, the manual mode, we have the precision and the cruise mode. So as you go up the Janome long arm quilting machine line, then you're familiar already with those same functions and features. It's just like for our Janome domestic machines. As you go up the Janome line, you're already familiar with a lot of those same functions and features. So that's great that it's all the same on the long arms. Now we do have a couple of additional things on the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20 in that we've got this big wheel here that adjusts our needle. Isn't that cool? So we can do it here just with a touch on our LCD screen. We have the options of doing a little tie off stitch at the beginning and end of our stitching. So we can program our LCD screen to customize our quilting however we would like. We've got a lot of diagnostics built into all of the Janome long arms as well that will record how many stitches we do, how long the machine is left on, for example. There's even a calculator built in, so we can calculate exactly how long it's taken us to do all of our quilting. Our handlebars here, very similar to as they are with Quilt Maker Pro 16 and Quilt Maker Pro 18, but with these handlebars we can actually program which controls go where. So instead of our stop-start button being here on the right, maybe you would like it on the left. So you can switch those out and reprogram them as needed. That's a very unique feature of the Quilt Maker Pro 18, or Quilt Maker Pro 20. With Quilt Maker Pro 20, another unique feature is, oh yes, we can adjust our handlebars. This is a great feature. If you have another quilter using the same machine, for example, you want your elbows to be about 90 degrees. So your frame you can adjust in height, of course, but instead maybe you can just adjust the handlebars to accommodate someone of a different height. Or when you're doing your quilting for many hours and you want a break, adjust your handlebars, and then that puts your hands in a different position. Definitely adjust your grip so then you can quilt a little bit longer when you're quilting in comfort. Or especially it's great, I like lowering these handlebars low when I'm doing like micro stippling all around applique, for example, and I'm doing a really dense background fill. So you can adjust these handlebars down low if you want, or again, even way up high if you want. So you've got lots of versatility here with the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20. We have the same adjustable thread tension control here. As I turn this knob here, we've got the control on our LCD screen so we can adjust the tension of our needle thread so we know it stitches out perfectly. And again, 2,500 stitches per minute. It is, again, a bigger machine, a heavier machine, but look, I'm moving it with one hand. There is no need for a big death grip on this machine at all. It really moves beautifully. And again, a fully adjustable frame that we can set it up to either 12 feet, 8 feet, or 4 feet. So lots of options available. Another versatile option for the Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20 is the optional set of rear handlebars that come with this another beautiful 7-inch LCD screen with the same controls that are on the front of the machine. So now if you would like to do paper pantographs at the back of the machine, you could get the optional handlebars, and it comes with the laser light. So now we can follow whatever paper pantograph we would like. And again, we don't need to worry if we're off a little bit. No one is ever going to compare this paper with what's happening at your quilt. The fun thing about using the paper pantograph is this laser light represents your needle, so what's happening on your quilting surface. And again, whatever design you would like, they're readily available. Check with your Janome dealer. Now, you could also add as an optional accessory to your Janome Quilt Maker Pro 20 the Pro Stitcher Premium computer. It is a different configuration than the Pro Stitcher software that's available for your Quilt Maker Pro 16 and Quilt Maker Pro 18. It's the same computer program, but they just come in a different box and a slightly different configuration. So Pro Stitcher Premium is available for your Quilt Maker Pro 20, and then a separate Pro Stitcher package is available for your Quilt Maker Pro 18 and Quilt Maker Pro 16. So as always, double check with your Janome dealer to make sure you're getting the correct one for your correct machine.